You're listening to Love, Guns and Freedom with Luca Zanna on United States.fm network.
A couple of decades ago, Australia had a mass shooting, similar to Columbine or Newtown. And Australia just said, well, that's it. We're not seeing that again. And basically imposed very severe, tough gun laws, and they haven't had a mass shooting since.
Okay, you're listening to Love, Guns and Freedom with Luca Zanna on K-Talks 1340 AM and on United States.fm network. Second hour, it's all about guns. You know, intentionally, last Sunday, I didn't want to talk about this Oregon shooting. You know, I have a lot of listeners told me, why don't you talk about it? We can wait to hear what you have to say. First of all, thank you very much. I'm just a regular person, but yes, I would like to give you my opinion. I wanted to wait, though. I wanted to wait because... you know, I don't like to waste time and airtime on things that really they make no sense. You know, everybody now can say whatever they want. That's fine. We can speculate about if this is true or not true. And I know there is a lot of reservation about all these events. Even, you know, I mean, bless his heart. I like his movies. Even, of course, it's kind of funny. Steven Seagal, you know, even Steven Seagal said that many of these shootings, especially at schools, they are government engineered. We know that for sure. One thing, they've been used politically. These bastards, politicians, I don't care which party, they can't even wait the bodies, they're still cold. I mean, they still, when the body's still moving, they're on the ground. They already jump on their microphones, and the Hillary and the Obama and all these bastards, filthy rats, disgusting pieces of sewer garbage. They can't wait even for the respect of the victims to jump and continue their political agendas. That's the fact. About the conspiracy that could happen or not, I don't know. I know for sure that a lot of questions that needs to be answered, like a Sandy Hook. But that's not the point. No, I don't want to waste airtime debating you, liberal fascist. Because you think you're liberal. No, you're not liberal. Maybe you don't know. You're a Nazi. National Socialist. You, any one of you listening to this show right now, will still support that piece of filth, subhuman fishes called Mr. Barack Hussein Obama. You are worse than a Nazi or fascist. Because at least the fascists, you know what, they had the balls to go out there and do their dirty deeds. If they wanted to get people's guns, they had the balls to go. I remember in Italy stories, you know, they come in the middle of the night, they break your door, they beat you up. At least they do the dirty jobs. You cowards, worms, liberals, that you call yourself liberals, but you are like wannabe Nazis, but you don't have the balls. But you have to hide behind the government to use Mama or Big Daddy Obama. Take their guns, because you're so coward, you're so spineless, you're such a jellyfish that you cannot even do that to your job. If you want to come and take my guns, I'm here. So now let me tell you about now. I wanted to wait a week to briefly talk about this Oregon shooting. Because the point is, there is no point. I do not debate my rights, especially with you, subhuman zombies. If you think I'm going to debate my Bill of Rights with you, you are completely wrong. I'm not even going to waste my airtime. I give you now the shortest gun control debate you ever get, because that's all you deserve. You want my guns? I have guns. I'm not going to give them to you. This is the end of debate. Now you do the next move. Come and take him. Look, the gun is here. Lock and load it. You want to do gun confiscation? You want to do gun registration? Come on, next move. End of the debate. I do not debate my First Amendment with you, wannabe Nazis. I don't debate my Second Amendment. I don't debate my Third Amendment. I don't debate anything because you're not worth it. You are just spineless cowards. Go back to Obama and go kiss his ass. And go say, oh, he got guns. Guess so. Well, let's now, just for the sake of, since I have a talk show to fill up here, let me give you just for entertainment, some of my views. Why you're so mentally paralytic and so mentally unstable that you deserve to get locked up. And your logic about try to confiscate or try to registrate or try to legislate more of these gun laws, gun control laws, you are insane. Number one, this bastard acting as a president, this imposter, Mr. Obama, he's right there right now saying that he doesn't need Congress. He's going to go around Congress. He's going to do executive orders. If you agree with that, I don't care where we are on this issue. You are a Nazi. Because this guy is acting as a freaking tyrant that he is. Right there, you prove my point. You support Obama and this going around Congress, you are a freaking Nazi. Piece of filth. Number one. Right there. Number two, the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. The right of the people. Okay? So it's my right. Like my First Amendment right. Like the Third Amendment right. So the bottom line here, guess what? You got a big problem here. If you really want to change it, you got to go through the Constitutional Congress and Convention and everything else says the Constitution, and it still wouldn't fly because this is a God-given right. The Bill of Rights doesn't give me any rights. It just enunciates the rights. You understand that? Now, Obama, we know that after these other shooting in Oregon, immediately start to mention the magic word. Australia, England. They don't want gun registration. They don't even want, of course, that's the first step. They don't want gun, restrictions. They want gun confiscation because it's the dream of every freaking tyrant. That's what they want. Now, just because I'm trying to be nice, I'm trying to control myself, even you don't deserve it, pieces of filth, wannabe Nazi, call yourself liberal, I call you liberal fascist, at least anybody who supports Obama, I know it's going to probably irritate you, I don't give a damn. You are a liberal Nazi, national socialist, and you have this piece of filth that you call president, that you put yourself like he's God. He's not God, just a piece of garbage. Seriously. Now, back to the point. As I said, I do not debate rights, but let me just give you a little bit of story. First of all, if you really want to be logic, and I try to be logic with zombies like yourself, it's kind of hard. Let's start to look at the facts. All these big shooting or massacre, or whatever you want to call them, happen in gun-free zones, So if I want to blame somebody, let's blame on the government or blame on the institutions or these schools or these universities. They created these pretty much sitting duck zones. That's what they are. Even a child, even my dogs understand that if you put an environment that not even a security guard, like in Oregon, did they have a gun, that's a perfect place for a scumbag to make, himself famous. That's the bottom line. So right there, big problem. Gun-free zone, sorry, that stupid sign is not going to stop a criminal. All it's going to stop law-abiding people to defend themselves. So you're there wrong, unless you're completely stupid. Number two, let's not talk about the medication, I know probably most of the commercial networks or stations, we can talk about that. What type of drugs, psychodrugs, these pieces of filth they were on? All of them, the last 20 years at least, they were all on some psychodrugs. So this is not a problem about, gun control, or this is not about guns. This is not even about, people with mental diseases. No, this is about freaking psychodrugs. Thanks to the FDA, the mafia from the government that approves these big pharma psycho drugs. That's all they're doing, unfortunately. They're creating big serial killers out there. That's a fact. So let's talk about that. We should talk about that. Then also let's talk about statistics. I know you don't follow, you can count statistics, but the FBI statistics just come out. This is from the FBI under the Obama administration, of course, that, we got less crime. More guns, less crime. How you want to waste my time to give you the numbers? You don't deserve this. Go find out yourself. As I said, I do not debate my rights. You can cry wherever you want. The gun is here. Look. You hear it. So that's simple. End of the debate. You want to get my guns? And like me, by the way, there are millions of people. And I'm just a regular, immigrant, former immigrant with an accent. So think about what a real red-blooded American probably had his father or grandfather fighting in World War II, or maybe fighting the Nazis, or maybe just, being part of the Civil War or Revolutionary War, and they got roots deep your butt. You think they're gonna, I'm just a regular guy, not even born here, and I'm telling you, I give you the middle finger. You wanna get my guns? That's the day it's gonna start World War III here. It's not gonna happen. As they say, ain't gonna happen. Okay? I'm learning this slang. I love it. So that's the bottom line. End of debate. End of debate. Now, what is this guy, the Oregon shooter? I don't know. Nobody really knows. Because they tell you what they want to tell you. All I know that Obama is a piece of filth. That's a fact. And most of these victims, they told them to stay home. In Oregon, more than 10,000 people stay home. Don't come here with the dirty face. Go back to Kenya and leave us alone. Because you're part of the problem. And by the way, this is the dream of every tyrant. In the history of humanity, if you look about it, Hitler, Stalin, Lenin, Mussolini, all of them, all they wanted, Mao Zedong, they wanted their subjects completely disarmed. Now you useful idiots, because you are useful idiots, unfortunately you're so stupid you can't even see it straight, that you support still this piece of filth called Obama. I'm telling you something. What if after is going to be the next president is going to be a Republican? There's going to be doing the same things that Obama does, of course, as a fascist, as a warmonger, bombing and drumming the crap out of everybody, and the National Defense Authorization Act with this provision of indefinite detention that if it was Bush doing that, you would freak out. But now because this Obama is your guy, everything's cool. Because after all, this guy is brown and he's a Democrat. Democrat, yes. You're idiots. You're so idiots, seriously. Don't get me wrong, I'm not smart either. I guess tell you, compared to you, I'm a genius. That's a fact. So anyway, I'm going to spare you the statistics, what happened really in England after the total gun ban, England is the number one world for violent crimes. 2,034 people for 100,000 people instead America, after all, with all these millions of guns. It's the number one in the world for gun ownership, 88 for every 100 people, and it's not even in the top 10 countries in the world for violent crimes. Okay, 466 for every 100,000 people. But more important, this is the right. Now, let's talk about the collectivist sense of guilt, you piece of scum. Because you really like to hide behind the collectivist. You think, we are all collectivists. Guess what? If somebody does a car accident, I'm trying just to be reasoning with you. I'm trying to control myself. That's why I got one here. Otherwise, I would snap, really. You have no idea how I feel. Let me calm down. Let's try to be logical. Okay, for a moment, we talk. Last night, probably around America, in our 50 states, I don't know, many thousands of people die in a car accident. Many of them probably they were under the influence of drugs or maybe DUI. Damn it, they were drinking wine. Wow. Now, because maybe 30,000 people during Labor Day weekend had a car accident, should we now ban all cars? Or should we ban all alcohol? Because some few idiots made a mistake? No, I'm not guilty for somebody else's responsibilities or crimes. Let's put it this way. So, more people are dying of bees, being stung by bees, than being killed by a weapon in America. And look at Chicago, idiots. The most gun restricting laws, or Washington, D.C., the number one gun control laws, the highest crime in the nation. So, your logic really makes no sense. And by the way, there are a lot of good Democrats out there that I know they are good on the Second Amendment. Don't get me wrong. But that's unfortunately almost the old generation. Because, and don't get me wrong, I don't even side with the Republicans, because they're a bunch of Republicans, they're paid off, sold out pigs. Okay? That's a fact. So this is not a partisan issue. I'm not trying to bash Democrats and prop up Republicans. For me, they are both filthy somehow at different levels. This is about those some sort of people out there that really still have hams on their eyes, and they're really so stupid, like the useful idiots voting for bastard and supporting like somebody like Obama. They don't understand what he's doing now. This is the final stage to take over this country. They want our guns. Because then they can take your pensions. They can take your properties. They can implement Agenda 21, Agenda 2030, and whatever they want. As simple as that. So I'm not going to waste any more time about this Oregon shooting. I'm sure you heard enough through the news. There are, of course, also some other questions that we don't know. What really happened? I have no idea. All I know that what these politicians are doing, yes, I know. They have an agenda. They want us all disarmed because so we can be completely their prey. That's what I'm not going to do. And I'm not going to debate with you, pigs. Fascist, liberal pigs. This is the gun. Grow up some balls. Don't go to Papa Obama, get their guns. Oh, here's a gun. Guess what? This is Arizona. Screw you. Before you get our guns, we're going to start civil war here. I'm telling you. I speak for myself, of course. I got news for you. I know enough people that they think like me. Enough. All right. Let me calm down. Now, let's go back to our business. Wow. First of all, something that really should give you a motivation to buy not a gun, a rifle, if it's possible, pretty soon. This new announcement from the Obama administration, exactly from Justice of Department, to have now this international police force, a global force, to go under, the extreme. The extreme. Wow. This is scary, Don't forget about nationalizing police. That's one of the most important things of this country, America, is the separation of powers and, of course, also the centralization of powers. Even an immigrant like myself can understand that. Exactly different from any other part of the world, like there is a centralized police force. That means if you have a centralization of power, you have more corruption. And you have no way to escape from tyranny. Instead, when you have decentralization, you have a chance to at least to have some freedom. That's the bottom line. So anyway, Obama said, forget about centralization of police as the United States police. No, we go deeper now. We're going to announce at the UN a global police force to fight extremism in U.S. city. This is going to be a global police force since probably not many American cops will comply with this act of fascism. That's why they need to get now the new international fascist police. And what did they say extreme now? Extreme just means that just somebody doesn't go along with their global socialist agenda. Somebody like myself who does not believe in the United Nations, or I believe in sovereignty, I believe in constitution, I believe in freedom, I believe in property rights, I believe in gun rights, I believe I can tell you, screw you, Obama, I have a freedom of speech. That's what they call extreme. Fine. Let them rip it off. Let's go. As I said, we're not going to live forever. I'm not a hero, I'm not a combat vet, I'm just a regular guy. And guess what? That should really freak you out. If a regular guy like me, that is so mad and irritated and ready to put everything on the line and everything I fought hard and worked hard for, to even, just let it go. Because my freedom, my dignity is more important than anything else. If we don't have freedom, we're not going to have anything else. And I had to go back at night, look at myself in the mirror. I'm an American after all. I cannot just say, I'm an American, I'm living in the land of the free. No, I need to really uphold this oath that I took when I became an American. So it's my duty. And I know it's your duty too, because you're going to do it for your sons and daughters. So screw you, Obama. Screw you, your global police force. You can shove it up your ass. That's my basic bottom line. And I know there are some listeners out there that are so worshipping that piece of filth Obama, and they get so mad when I call him names. Guess what? Change channel. If you don't like it, change freaking channel. What's wrong with you? Are you obsessed with me? We're not married. You don't need to listen to me. Anyway, let's talk about news. Now, there is a great event in Lakeside, Arizona. East part of Arizona. Great place. Restoring America's Heritage. Constitutional Arms Expo and Rally. When? The 16, 17, and 18 of October 2015. Friday, 10 a.m. till 6 p.m. Saturday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Sunday, 9 to 3 p.m. Where? At 727 Woodland Road, Building D, Lakeside. 727 Woodland Road, Building D, Lakeside. Anyway, this is a great event. Why? This is not just a gun show. This is a very constitutional gun show. We are in Arizona after all. If you're here, we don't need no background checks. By the way, this idea of the background check is ridiculous, even if I don't need to entertain you because you're too stupid to understand and talk to me. But guess what? Let me tell you. The criminals don't buy guns at the stores, morons. They don't buy guns with background check. They buy guns off the black market. Okay? That's the bottom line. But anyway, guess what? Anyway, this is a great event. It's going to be people buying and selling and trading freely as a free Americans, guns and everything in between. Okay? Guess what? Great. Be there. You can buy everything you want. Enjoy it. It's freedom. No background checks. I love it. I may be there too. And there are also some great politicians. I call them statesmen because politicians for me is a bad word. Statesmen. Coming also from out of state of Washington. Anyway, so guys, that's the point. It's time to stand up. Now, some proactive things, after, let's not focus about this gun control. Seriously, they can do whatever they want. Obama can say he's God. I'm going to really laugh at him. I can laugh at him. I can laugh at everybody else. They can say, we have to jump. Are you going to jump? No, I'm not going to jump. And it's millions of us. Let them show that we are not going to jump like dogs. So what we can do now, we need to start to prepare. Now, this week, I had a moment that I wanted to buy a gun as an emotional response after this Oregon shooting and Obama going, in this completely disgusting mode that he needs to tell us, we need to feel sorry, gun owners are so bad. Guess what? I'm going to buy another gun. So I had this idea. Maybe I say, let me think. Normally I carry Glocks. I love Glocks. People say, I don't like Glocks. I understand. Probably there are better guns out there, but it works for me, okay? Don't get me wrong. This is not a competition. You like whatever you like. I don't care. All I care that we all, as Americans, able to shoot straight and the enemy is in front of us. Simple as that. Now, I like Glocks because they're simple. They're easy to find parts, and I like the magazines, affordable, aftermarket parts. I like the idea that it's a very instinctive gun. I don't need to worry about decocking or about, safety. The finger is my safety. My mind is my safety. So I love Glocks. They're accurate. I can do everything I want with a Glock. But the bottom line is, my gun, let's not forget, it is just the tool allows me to get my rifle. Because a gun is just for personal defense. It's a reactive weapon. I'm not going to, defend my freedom with a gun. I defend my freedom with a rifle. Okay, you ever heard anybody winning a war with a handgun? No, it's not going to happen. But it's a good tool. I carry this with me every day. And I'm not 5 rounds away from my rifle. That's the bottom line. So, the big question was to be or not to be. That's the dilemma. I wanted to get another gun just to piss them off. Just to piss off these spineless jellyfish liberals that they call liberals, but they're fascists because they're crying. Because like CNN says, we must get our guns. We don't need a Second Amendment. You know what? Screw you. The right of the people to keep and bear arms exists. You want it or not. Okay? Anyway, so my big question was, am I going to buy a 226 or a Beretta 92? The upgraded version with the rail. It's a new world for me. Normally, I have a CZ75 for the decocking type of gun. And I love them. It's a great gun. CZ75, I think it's a great, accurate gun. But, I love the Glocks. I don't know. Simple. I like the magazines and I like the holsters and everything else. But I wanted just to buy another gun. The problem was, after all, I was going to spend between $850 for my 6.226, the one I wanted, 9 millimeters. The fancy version, Navy SEAL, whatever, or another $650 for my Beretta. And then what? Then I have to think that I need to buy at least 20 magazines. I don't call them high capacities, I call them standard capacity, but still 20 magazines. I'm obsessed. Every time I have a gun, at least I need to have at least 20 mags, otherwise it's not going to work for me. So anyway, 20 mags, then I need to get a holster. So I said, you know what? Why do I need another gun? I have so many guns. I don't know. I don't want to say on the air how many Glocks I have, but I have more Glocks than my fingers, okay? And I like them. And I'm practical with that. And I'm pretty trained with that. I don't want to start to retrain. And why should I spend an extra $1,000 for a tool? After all, it's not even the main tool. So I stopped my impulsive buyer instinct, and I say, you know what? And this is something I would like to share with you also as an advice, a friendly tip, not an advice. I'm just a regular guy. Don't focus too much on the gun. Focus on the rifle. There were right now, for example, this week before, of course, this Oregon shooting happened, incredible deals on AR-15. I mentioned to you last Sunday, the Center Fire Systems had an incredible deal for less than $400. An AR-15 Delton, or whatever it's called. centerfiresystems.com. Probably they're gone. So think about it. If you had to spend $1,000 or so for a handgun, unless you really have a lot of money, and that's great, bless you. If you got a lot of money in this economy, I'm so proud of you. Buy everything you can, fine. But for me, when I can spend $500 for a handgun that I know is solid, is reliable, is accurate, and it does the job, I'm plenty with that. I'm not here for showing off at the range. I'm here to be ready. Let's put it this way. So whatever guns you have, fine. So I said, you know what, instead of buying an extra $1,000 of gun and accessories and magazine, I'm going to buy the equivalent money in the caliber of ammunition of my favorite rifle. 308, 7.62 by 51. Simple as that. So that was my choice. That was pretty much I wanted to share because that's part of the training. This is part of the mindset. Try to prioritize. Because, times are tough and you do not want to get, stuck in spending money where I believe, unless, as I said, if you have a lot of money, that's fine. You can spend $2,000 for a Kimber. Great. That's your gun. You love it. Excellent. Excellent choice. But if you don't have a rifle yet and you say, wait, I need to wait 6 months before I buy a rifle. Wait a moment. Before you spend all the money on a handgun, get the rifle first. Get the ammunition. Get the training first. That's the most important thing. Now, in the second part of this hour, we have incredible opportunity for all Glock shooters because I try to find in this show also opportunity to give you training ideas. I know it's difficult to share training over on the air. After all, this is just a radio show, okay? But I believe really that the purpose is try to give you places and ideas and hints where you can get what you need and can get more important training. So we have a great opportunity how to save thousands of dollars training with a Glock from home, okay? Without wasting ammunition. It's a great tool. I have another thing I like about my Glocks, that there are, of course, out there a lot of ideas how to, for example, the SIRT gun, SIRTE, SIRTE, or whatever you call it. This sort of simulate, it's like a tactical training gun. It's a not real gun, it's a training tool. And it's great, you got a laser and it fits in your holster. It's like a Glock 17 or Glock 22. It's a great gun, but few $100 out there almost costs you like almost like a real gun. And the problem that you don't have, if I want to be honest with that, and I'm honest, you cannot rack your slide. So great tool to use the laser for home training in a very safe environment. Cert, I need to do a YouTube about it, and I will do it. But at the same time, I say, first of all, not everybody has $300 to buy a gun, a simulated gun like that, just for training. And then also say, wow, one thing I don't like, I was hoping they would do it. You cannot rack the slide. So when I have to do, for example, let's say training with emergency reloads, emergency reloads, or even just, rounding the chamber, things like that, you cannot do that. Defeat the purpose of dry practice completely. Even, of course, it's a great tool, don't get me wrong. But anyway, I found this great product that I will talk to you in a few minutes that I really think for a fraction of the price can give you a great opportunity of training. So guys, this is the situation. We are coming, unfortunately, to a moment that is the moment of the truth. How many Americans will stand up for freedom, for our Constitution, for our Bill of Rights? And they try to push us in a moment that slowly, they don't want anymore any one of us armed. Look what happened in San Francisco just a few days ago. The last gun shop in San Francisco closed Because unfortunately governments doesn't matter, the agenda is the same. If it's state, local, city level, when they go in that type of mindset of tyranny, that's what they want. And of course San Francisco, we know, is not about freedom. They're a bunch of control freaks. That's what they are. So they were able to close through local legislation and harassment the last store in San Francisco. It's very sad. I believe really California is gone. It's completely gone. And I hope I'm wrong, but unfortunately I say all the Californians listeners, you have two options now. Or stand there and fight back, or just to immigrate to Arizona. As simple as that. Here we go, guys. Second hour, Love, Guns and Freedom with Luca Zanna. This is the hour about guns. This show, it is not for entertainment purposes. When we talk about guns, it is not just about, let's talk about that gun, let's review that gun. No, this is about real stuff, okay? For me, the only goal I really have is to have as many law-abiding citizens out there in this republic to be armed and trained with the right mindset. That's the goal. And I understand, I'm not an instructor. I'm not here over the radio. I cannot give you the knowledge of this art, okay, and science. But I can give you at least the hints, the input, how to find good training. Because this is something that now, even for people that they thought, that's never going to happen here in America. After all, we are safe. First of all, you're never safe because, beside God, nobody's going to protect you. Seriously, you know very well, the police, they don't live with you, they don't sleep with you. And honestly, most of the times, I'm sorry, I think you're better off by yourself. But that's another story. We got to start to understand that it's your responsibility as a man or as a woman to take care of yourself, take care of your family. Number one. And of course, then if you can, you help also others. The idea is to help each other. As a good people, we want to help each other. But my goal is if you have a gun, you know very well that's a big responsibility. With freedom comes responsibility. So don't think just because you bought the latest gun out there or the latest shotgun out there, you think now you're done. No, that's just the beginning of your journey. You got trained. You have to train. And I'm trying to find here new ideas, new solutions to try to share with you that they can empower you to become a better gun owner. Simple as that. And I bring you the experts, because I'm just a professional student. That's what I am. I'm very humble. I like to go out there and I study and try to learn from everybody. That's my goal. But I want to bring you people who are here and do this as a profession, as a living. So I call them expert. One of them is one great guy. I really like him. On top, we're on the same side on many issues, and that's very important, because I have on this show people that normally I agree or disagree, doesn't matter. But when I have people that also we share the same values, I call them brothers. Brothers and sisters in freedom. His name is Cope Reynolds from Arizona. Cope, are you there?
Brother Zanna, I am here. How are you doing today?
Very good, Brother Cope. How's it going, man? Excellent.
Oh, we're doing okay.
Before we go ahead, and many of my listeners already know you, just give a very short story, who you are, what you do for a living, your profession as an instructor in the firearm art and science, as I call it. Go ahead.
Well, Luke, I've been a professional instructor since about 94, I believe it was, and my own Southwest Shooting Authority. We used to have a good-sized retail shop and everything, and then I got involved in some things that I probably shouldn't have. And so we've dedicated everything to training now. We are full-time training. I travel all over the country training. I'm putting together another class in Washington as we speak.
Wow!
And that's all I do now. It's my full-time job. I'm not a weekend out in the garage instructor. This is my full-time job.
Very good, very good. That's exactly what I want you here. Because my goal, as you heard, I want to give to my listeners the opportunity to find the great solutions to train, to get better, and to find the right tools, And most of the times, I tell you, I don't even bring sponsors. I like to bring everything really I think it's real, that I would buy myself. Because that's the purpose of this show. I'm not trying to pander for anything, but also at this time I'm going to have some sort of a double purpose. I would like to bring a tool that every one of you, especially if you shoot and train with a Glock handgun, you may find a lot of good benefits out of this opportunity. And also at the same time, if you're going to purchase this tool through this radio show, lovegunsfreedom.com, you can support this show. And this is thanks to your help, because you come out with this idea of this tool. Before we go ahead, and I'm going to give the rest of the story, let's remind to our listeners the importance of the concept of dry practice that has a very scientific benefit. It's been tested during the during the embargo that was in South Africa in the 70s. You know the story probably that the South African army, there was an embargo. They could not get their ammunition because of the apartheid laws they had. But they test this system to do dry practice. That means training and shooting for for the different qualifications without live ammo. And they saw that they have incredible results, even better than people of the soldiers they were training with the live ammo. So can we remind a little bit the concept of dry practice and why it's so fundamental to every gun owner?
Well, Luca, dry practice, there are some people out there that say some of the people that are really, really good, like Jerry Michalak and some of those, they dry practice maybe as much as 200 or 300 times for each live round they actually fire on the range.
Wow.
You're developing good habits. You want to be able to dry practice such a way that is the same as if you were firing a live gun out on the range, and not develop any additional habits that you don't actually use when you're firing. Dry practice is it can be used in every aspect of your life, not just guns. Everything that you do, you can practice without doing it for real in the movements and everything, and be able to develop that muscle memory, as they call it, those good habits, so that you'll just immediately default to that and fall back on that when and if the time ever comes. So dry practice is, some people say, well, if you're not shooting, what good does that do? You'd be out at the range shooting. I like to go out and make noise. What happens when you're shooting the actual gun, you get the recoil and the noise and the movement and all this stuff going on and people around you. And some of the mistakes that you make, you don't notice. You don't see them because the gun's moving anyway because of the recoil.
Exactly.
But you're having fun because you're going out making noise and everything. So you're actually, they say practice makes perfect. That is not true. Perfect practice makes perfect.
Exactly.
You can go out and practice wrong all day long and be very good at doing it wrong.
Exactly.
But
and also,
practice perfectly.
Very important what you said. It's very important. Perfect practice makes perfect, and more important also at the same time, we also live with a new equation, part of the equation, that it's economic hardship. The economy is not exactly what it used to be, and of course the price of ammo doesn't matter, it's still going up. So let's start to make sense. In my humble journey, one thing I learned when I learned the dry practice, for every round that I shoot at the range, I do normally 10, 15 dry practice. Now, what I heard about people doing like Mikolek, doing 200 dry practice, that's going to make me even feel better. But my point is, think about it, guys. You go out, you spend your average, $20 for a box of 50 rounds if you shoot a 40 or 45, and you realize that 50 rounds go very fast. And then, as you said, Cope, you cannot realize exactly the mistakes you're making. But what if, because there is the combustion, the recoil, all these different factors that you cannot focus on the individual movements. Then think about it. Not only you have the benefit when you do dry practice to almost, section step by step, every little thing that you're doing, you can analyze it. But also you can multiply that drill. Let's say you're doing control pair from the ready or from the holster. It doesn't matter. And you have only 50 rounds, that's going to go pretty fast. Instead, if you do, let's say, for every control pair that you shoot, for every 2 rounds that you shoot live, you do at least 20 or 30 dry practice. At the end of the day, even if you just did like 10 times dry practice, you would have shot at least like 200 rounds. Instead, then, probably just 20 rounds, So that's powerful right there. And I really think it works so much. Now, solution. You came out, or at least what I understand, you have a product that is really interesting for Glock users to create that sort of repeat trigger work that normally we cannot do with the Glock, because the Glock is not like a revolver. So, we had to rack the slide every time. So, tell me a little more about what you created, what you put together there.
All right. Now let me back up just real quick.
Yes.
Another great advantage to dry practice is I don't care how much snow's on the ground, how hard the wind's blowing, or how much it's raining, I can dry practice anytime. And I've proven this over and over and over again to students. If you can just take out of your precious schedule, if you can just take literally 5 minutes,
Yes.
3 or 4 times a week, it will help you dramatically. If you can put together 15 minutes, 3 or 4 or 5 times a week, you would be absolutely astonished
Yes.
at the improvement that you'll show after just 1 month's time without ever firing a single shot on the range.
It is true. And by the way,
amazing.
It's a perishable skills. And I tell you something, I did a test myself intentionally, also connected to real life, personal situations I had. For a month, I didn't do no dry practice, no range time at all. Then cold turkey, I went to do the basic qualification. Normally I do the different tests. Normally I use the front sight 4 days handgun class that normally I do distinguish every time. Guess what? I had to push it a lot because I realized that I was getting really, really out of shape. Instead, just doing it, I did a month, not going to the range at all, but just doing some basic dry practice, as you said, even just 5 minutes a day, few times during the week. You have I don't know. It's like it's almost impossible to believe, but it's true. It is true.
People believe it or not, people dry practice a little bit every day, whether they like it or not. Every single day, when they put that gun back in the holster, that when they get up in the morning or pull it out at night, you're dry practicing.
Yes.
When you go to the bathroom and have to pull your pants down, you have to take the gun out, you're dry practicing.
Yes,
you should be doing that properly, dynamically, the same presentation that you would as if you were out on the range.
Yes.
Because you will absolutely create some bad habits by doing that if you don't do it right. If that's all the practice you're getting,
yes,
then and you're doing it wrong, then it's going to cost you.
And even, not just the handgun, by the way. I realized another thing I was falling in that trap myself a few years ago was when I was reaching for my magazine. Instead of doing the indexing, because I thought, okay, I'm just putting my magazine now on the table because I'm going to the bathroom or whatever, okay? No, you had to do always the same way, because if you start to adopt, like the cone, I call the ice cream cone technique, okay? Wrong, you just handle it like an ice cream cone. Then, even if you say, okay, I'm just now doing it for practical purposes because I'm taking my shoes off or whatever, guess what? Then you're going to start to train to do it wrong. So it's so important, this part. Any specific ideas, because, there are different things we can do with dry practice. But let's say for somebody that is new to this concept, any specific ideas that safely they can do at home, just like an average routine? Well,
we have a little product that we've been making now for probably, I think I started probably 2006, I believe.
Okay.
And it's simply called the Glock Dry Practice Kit. It doesn't work with any other handgun.
Okay.
And it's a little kit that you take your stock trigger out and drop this trigger in. Very simple. With a little experience, you can do it in 30 seconds.
Yes.
If you have manual and, step by step, you should be able to do it in less than a minute. And when you put this kit in, the gun then becomes absolutely, totally incapable of firing a live round. It is mechanically impossible.
Wow, that's
good.
But
what it does do is allow the trigger, you press the trigger and you get your click, pretty much like normal, reset the trigger. You know how important reset is.
Yes.
So it allows you to, press, reset repeatedly as many times as you need to. So otherwise, without this kit, what you're doing is press, hold the trigger to the rear, rack the slide, reestablish your grip, reset, and press again. Luca, what good does that do you?
Nothing. Honestly, that's bad, because it's very dangerous, that habit, I tell you, because then you start to think in real life that every time you shoot around, you need to rack the slide. That becomes almost automatical,
Luca, I've seen a lot of people out on the range rack out live rounds on the ground for that very reason.
Exactly. And I like also another important thing about this tool. By the way, I'm looking at the photos. First of all, you have like a red dot, very, very easy to and clear to see, that is exactly on the trigger. That shows that when you're handling that gun in the dry practice session, even of course we always follow the same type of safety rules. That gun for us is always a handgun. I don't care if it's a toy. I still treat it like with respect and the same basic rules. But at least I know that gun cannot fire and there is that very specific trigger with a red point that really makes a difference. I think it's very important also for safety, because I tell you, I heard stories, people do not follow all the rules that normally I've been talking about for discipline in the house to do dry practice. It takes a second, just a phone call, somebody is distracted and you reach for the wrong magazine, you don't follow the rule that no rounds in the room where you're training, and boom, you may have a very sad accident. That is not an accident. It is a negligence, in my opinion.
Right.
But so this is very good. I like the way you set it up. So the red point is great, and also I think the trigger reset, it's vital, especially for the Glock. That's one of the most important thing. We gotta train with the Glock. It's not a revolver. It's not a single action. And I tell you honestly, I never tried that. But I saw videos, I saw YouTubes, I read reviews. And I tell you, I spent a few $100s just a few months ago, and now I start to regret a little bit, as much as I like it, for the simulated tool. It's called CERT, the handgun CERT, SI.
Right.
It's great. You have a laser, it feels like a Glock, it fits your holster, but, at the end of the day, it's $300, okay, or so. So now, with less than $60 or so, you can get something that I don't even need to have another simulated gun. I have a real gun that normally I carry with me, and I can be safe, and I can do incredible things like, for example, also, one thing I don't like about the CERT, I cannot do emergency reload, for example. The slide doesn't rack. It's just a phony slide, This one, I can still use it as a real gun, correct?
Right, yeah. And back to that red dot you were talking about, that red dot, you can actually feel it. It's very visible when it's light, but if you remember to check, if it's a low light situation, you pick up a gun in the dark or something, you can reach up there with your index finger and feel that spot on either side.
Yes.
And be able to tell immediately that that's not the live trigger.
Yeah, it's
and then take whatever appropriate action is necessary.
Little hollow, I see. It's a little. There is a little concavity. Very good. So, listen,
Right.
that's the point. I found out about this. Honestly, I didn't know that was that you were behind this product. And I said, wow, I need to contact Cope. I want to be honest, guys, listeners. This show needs help to go on. My time is free, but I have cost. And the time that I dedicate to this energy during the week, I could do my other, pay my bills, doing my other things that I do normally for life. So I say, I want to find a way to keep this show independent and free, do not rely on sponsors, but at the same time, like I know many of you guys support me downloading my songs, and I remind you, if you want to do that, you can always go to my zanna.us website for 99 cents. You can download any of my songs, and this way you support the show. And today I said, you know what, why do not even give something that is even more for gun owners, that when they purchase this product through the radio show, they can also help me out to support the show. So I wanted to call you, and I called you, and you gave me the opportunity to resell this product. So I wanted just to say, first of all, thank you, Cope, and I hope all the listeners out there, I will post a photo exactly of this product. How do you want to call this? It's called the Glock Dry Practice Kit. We want to call it like that?
That's simple. That's all it is.
So it fits for every Glock, third generation and fourth generation, 9mm, 40 and 357 and 45 GAP.
Well, there's three models of the Glock Dry Practice Kit. There's one that fits all the nines, with the exception of the new 43. The new 43 and 42, we don't have kits for those, and probably won't in the foreseeable future because of a parts issue.
Okay.
But it fits every other 9mm, 40, 357, and 45 gap.
Okay.
One fits all of them. They're made so that they'll fit either the third generation or the fourth generation. That would also, of course, include the first and second generations. But you'll need a different kit if you're shooting any of the full-size 45s. The 21, the 10 millimeter, the Glock 20, 21, 29, 30. I think that's all right off the top of my head.
Yeah.
There's a different one for those, and then there's one for the Glock 36, which is in a class all by itself, being a small single stack.
Okay.
But most people don't dry practice too much with the 36. It's not certainly not the most popular gun that Glock has out there by any means. But
okay, so listen, that's the situation, guys. If you wanna have the opportunity to get one of those, okay, I tell you how to do it. Go to the website that normally you go to, lovegunsfreedom.com. I will post a link, a big photo of this dry practice kit, and there is a link. They go straight to my email, okay? And I will start to take pre-orders. Simple as that. And what is the suggested retail price that normally you would sell this?
$69.95.
Okay.
And we've come out with a match grade one where the trigger pull is down to around 3.5 pounds, and it's $10 more. It's a little bit more work to make that happen.
Yeah.
So,
but let's say, I honestly, you know what, guys, I would like to keep it simple for us. And honestly, I tell you, as much as I like the match stuff, normally in the real life, we carry, at least myself, I carry a Glock with a standard trigger because also for liability situations. But I would like to keep it simple. I would get the basic dry practice kit for, of course, 940 and also the other sides. But the point is, go to lovegunsfreedom.com. There is a big photo I will put there with a link. You go straight to my email. Okay, you'll send me an email if you're interested. Okay, you send me an email, and we said the price was $69.99. What do you say?
Yeah, $69.95.
Okay, not only that, I will also give you a free song with that. Okay, I will send you also a couple of free songs for every order. Okay, now, and in doing this way, the little bit of profit that there is, I will put straight forward towards the production of the show. It's not even for me. Honestly, I got my life already set. I do my stuff. I'm just trying to keep this show going so I don't need to beg for sponsors. And in this way, we can keep it free. And I can say whatever I want. And you can say whatever you want. And we don't need to, always say, okay, if the sponsor gets mad or not. We don't care. That's the bottom line. So go to lovegunsfreedom.com and you will find the Glock Dry Practice Kit. And I tell you guys, if you don't have a Glock, that's fine. But if you have a Glock, this is a great opportunity to train for a very good price. And people say, oh my God, $69. Guess what? When you go to the range, if you have like a 40, how many boxes do you buy with $70? Not much, right, Cope, in these days?
Oh, no, what? 4 boxes maybe?
Maybe.
And we've got a 90-day warranty on parts and workmanship on these. Luke, I had one in my classroom when I was up in Farmington, New Mexico. That thing probably had, I'm going to guess, pretty easily 20 to 30,000 trigger presses on it, and it's still used.
Yeah.
It's not going to wear out in a summer.
Exactly.
This is a long-lasting product. It works very well, and it works for a long time. There's been a couple of others made out there that have been similar. I won't mention any names, but there was one back several years ago that was available through one of the big Glock dealers, and it was good for about 90 days. You'd use it, and it had a spring in there. Excuse me.
Yeah.
And you would have to take that spring out and turn it around to make it last. It would develop a set.
Wow.
And the spring was asked to do two different things.
Wow.
And it didn't do it very well.
Yeah.
So that's where we got the idea to build the Glock Dry Practice Kit, and we improved on it dramatically, changed it quite a bit, and made it where it's I can't say lifetime, I guess. I don't know. But it's not going to wear out in one summer of hard use. I can promise you that.
And also that alternative, guys, I tell you, I try them all. I like to test them all. I love the CERT handgun. It's great if you want to have it as a tool for learning and training around the house. But you need to start to put out a few $100s, okay? Seriously. And this is something, it's a great solution. And you really have the same gun. And what I can still rack my slide. I can do emergency reload if I want to. I want to do, for example, my, different type of malfunctions is the same handgun normally I carry. So
every single procedure that you do on the range, Luca, you can do with this thing except make noise.
Exactly.
All of your malfunctions, all of your reloads, trigger press, sight alignment, presentation, every type of technique and procedure that you can think of can be done realistically with the Glock Dry Practice Kit in there. You just cannot fire a live round.
And I need to get one SAP. I'm not even going to wait for the order. I'm going to buy after we finish the conversation. But now listen, guys, to me. Not only you help this show, you also, I like when the American people, even especially in our state, we're in Arizona, okay? And when I see the small business owner coming out with an idea and producing it, away from big corporate control. So this is like exactly every business starts from an idea and hard work of people. And no, Obama, you did not do it for us. We are doing it. We are making it, okay?
That's right.
And that's the bottom line. We work, we risk, we invest, and and we sometimes we make mistakes and we go on. That's part of being American and the free spirit of this country. So out there, not only you get something good for your training and your family, you also is going to help two different entities here. One is my radio show, Love, Guns, and Freedom. If you're listening, I hope it's worth it. And the other way, somebody like Cop Reynolds that is dedicated his life to sharing this information, to training people, and also for the cause of freedom. The guy is an activist, he's one of us. So that's the bottom line. So don't be cheap, cough it up, go to lovegunsfreedom.com, and we appreciate it. Right, Cop?
Right. Yes, sir, we do. I've sold these dry practice kits in, I believe it's 16 or 17 countries right now.
Wow.
I just sent 40 of them out to Fort Bragg, North Carolina.
That's great.
And we've got several law enforcement agencies and individual law enforcement officers that use them because it's an alternative to the red gun. The red gun that Glock offers is a $400 gun that does the same thing the dry practice kit does.
Exactly.
For $69.95.
And I like that red point. It's so good because, you realize that you cannot shoot live ammo. It's safe. It is not just, when I play around with I do dry practice with my regular Glock, and I have some other system like the laser that you put inside the chamber, things like that. I still freak out a little bit sometimes, even I know that I'm safe, but still, it's a gun. If I had a trigger like that one, I see that it's completely deactivated. It's always safer. I think it's always safer, especially in the house. Listen, Cope, one more time, I appreciate it. And please, if people want to reach you out, for example, for some of your classes, how they can get hold of you?
Best way to do it is go to our website at southwestshootingauthority.com. Pretty easy, southwestshootingauthority.com. You can call or email at training@southwestshootingauthority.com.
Perfect. And you're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna. Don't go away after this hour of guns. We will talk about now love, but it's a different type of love today. Are you ready to stand up for this country? Because we are under attack. This is the final love. Let's show to our next generation that we did everything we could. Don't go away.
He's a songwriter, a poet, a rifleman.
I'm not afraid.
And a constitutional activist.
I'm not afraid.
Italian by birth.
I'm not afraid.
American by choice. Gianluca Zanna.
I'm not afraid.
And his new CD, Love, Guns, and Freedom. 16 powerful songs on one CD from the heart of a patriot. For download or to order the CD, go to www.lovegunsfreedom.com. That's www.lovegunsfreedom.com. Lyrics for your mind, music for your heart. Gianluca Zanna's new CD, Love, Guns, and Freedom.